Hey guys, this is Jimmy at Big Number One Motorsports. Today, I want to tell you what to look for when you're buying a pre-owned bike. I know that not everybody is looking to buy a bike from a dealership. There's a lot of individuals buying and selling online and things like that. So I want to help educate you, what to look for so that you can make a better buying decision. You don't end up like myself and a lot of others have, putting a new motor in a bike just a few months after you got it. All right guys, so number one is going to be your fork seals. This is something that gets overlooked a lot, especially on sport bikes. I've actually seen crazy stuff where people have taken and put stickers on their inner tubes and it just demolishes the fork seals. The reason this is so important is because that fluid right there can leak down and get onto your brake rotors. And of course, you know that you don't want lubricated brakes. They don't really do their job too well. So what you want to do when you're looking at a bike is really inspect the fork seals. Make sure the rubber is still soft, still malleable, and that it's not dry or cracked at all. Also, a lot of times people will take a leaking fork, and they'll know it's leaking, and they'll wipe it off before you go to look at that bike. So when you get there, squeeze the brakes and compress the front suspension a few times to make sure that there's no fluid coming out, and that'll help you be a lot safer. Number two is your brakes and rotors, really. You should be able to feel your rotor, and it should feel smooth all the way around. If you feel any grooving, then it's definitely something that you're going to want to keep a close eye on, and eventually you'll have to replace. But rotors are very expensive on bikes. There's 3 of them, and I can tell you that they're a lot more expensive than if you're buying it for a car. In addition, your brake pads. You want to make sure that when you're buying a bike that you anticipate that expense. If the brake pads are close, you're talking a couple $100s to replace the brakes all the way around, and you see those kind of fees and little add-ons that you have to fix and replace all of a sudden start jumping that great deal that you thought you had into something that's not quite such a great deal. All right, so number 3 is the body of the motorcycle. Of course you know, well, yeah, duh. If it's got scratches, that's not what I'm talking about. Scratches, that's cosmetic, that's no big deal. What you should worry more about is a bike that looks good, but may have some damage underneath where maybe it's been dropped and somebody just replaced a fairing. So look for pieces that are flexible, that don't stay attached like they're supposed to, and also look for stickers that are out of place. You know, a lot of guys are going to put tank pads and things like that on their bike, but if you happen to see a sticker up here, there's a good chance it's probably covering up some damage or something like that. So you want to ask, what's under that? Why is that sticker there? And ask a few more questions. You're going to get a few more answers, and hopefully you're going to save a little bit of money. Number 4 is your tires. Most guys think that a motorcycle tire is good until you see cords. That is so false. So let me tell you how to tell whether or not a tire is actually in need of being replaced. Firstly, in each groove here, you're going to have a wear mark. That wear mark tells you when the tire is a 2/32 tread depth. 2/32 is your legal limit. I know you're like, whatever, I speed all the time, who cares if my tire's in the legal limit? You should care. If you get caught in any kind of a rainstorm, or if there's any imperfections in the road and you have water or something that doesn't get displaced by that tire, that's going to put you in a really bad situation really, really quickly. So that's why they put that wear marker there, to be able to tell you. In addition, you should also look for 2 other things. One is cupping. Cupping happens when a tire is underinflated while you're riding, and you get into a corner and the rubber moves ever so slightly underneath the bike, and that weight then forces the rubber to move, and then you get uneven wear. That cupping can be very dangerous. And in addition, dry rot. If somebody stores their bike outside, it happens even quicker, but the age of tires and the conditions that they're in cause really the tire to get harder and get less sticky, get hard, and then you're going to end up having issues with it connecting to the road, or even more so, if the cracks get big enough, you're going to have a blowout. While you're down here looking at this part of the tire, also take a look at your chain. Your chain should be free of kinks. It shouldn't have surface rust. You should be able to see that the guy you're buying the bike from has cleaned and lubed it regularly. That's what you're going to want. A chain in and of itself is about $100–120 for a good quality, but more importantly, your sprockets. If you let your chain get out of control, then your sprockets are going to go bad as well, and there you're talking about more costly expenses once again. So you should be able to look at your sprocket underneath here, and it should be even. If you see it start to look like a shark fin, where one side is worn more than the other, then you've had a problem, and that's definitely something you're going to need to replace very quickly to keep you from being in a dangerous situation. So the next thing on the list is engine oil. I'm sure you know, oil is supposed to be inside the engine, not outside of it. Doesn't do you any good when it's outside. So when you're looking at the bike, you should be able to get down low, look at your fairings, look at your engine, see if there's any gaskets that have any seepage. And if somebody tells you, oh, I just spilled some oil when I changed it last time. That's BS. Wipe it off, look a little bit closer, see if there's any potential that it's not coming from the filter, that it's not coming from your drain plug, and make sure, because it is a real mess of problems that you don't want to get yourself into if your engine is leaking oil. That is probably the most costly repair outside of transmission work that you could have. So number 7 on the list is transmission. If the guy that you're looking to buy a bike from is going to let you test ride it, definitely make sure that everything shifts smoothly, that there's no clunkiness. And if he doesn't let you test ride it, what you're going to want to do is just shift through and count and make sure that you can actually get into all of the gears. It's a pretty simple thing, but you know, transmissions can cost you a ton of money when it comes time to get something worked on. If it's missing a gear, that's not just a small problem, that's a big problem. I know some guys that ride that way and they just try to skip through one, but it's really unsafe. If you were to miss that shift and get yourself caught in a bad situation, who knows what can happen to you. Number 8, also really important, is clutch. When you squeeze the clutch in, the bike should completely disengage from gear. If you feel like there's still some pull when the clutch is all the way pulled into the handlebar, then you could have some signs there of wearing in the clutch basket. Once again, if you're a mechanic, of course, it's not going to be that big of a deal to you. You can pop the clutch basket out, replace it, and it's only going to cost you a little bit of money for the actual parts. But if you're not, and it comes time to get labor included in that cost of repair, it's going to get very costly very, very quick. All right, so number 9 is your electronics. When you go to look at a new bike, you should be able to turn on the key, see that all the functions are working properly. I made a big mistake once and took a guy at his word that the speedometer just didn't work for some reason. Well, it turned out that bike actually had just disconnected the cable. So the speedo wasn't logging any miles so that he could have an easier time selling it. Remember that engine I told you about that blew? Yeah, it said it had 12,000 miles on it. In reality, it probably had more like 25,000 miles on that engine. And it's a very simple thing to be able to check, but if it doesn't work properly electronically, then that is going to be a big, big deal in the future. If it's a bike that has an LCD display like this, you're not going to have a lot of issues specifically with the cluster, but you should also be able to go through and check all of your signals, check your lights, you know, those kinds of things. If somebody says, oh, well, that bulb's just out, tell them, all right, take $5 off the price of the bike and fix the bulb. Let me see that it works. It's probably not a bulb. It's probably a wiring issue or something like that, where somebody had spliced in something and cut that thing short. It is not going to be a $5 fix at AutoZone 95% of the time. All right, guys, we're at the end. This is number 10, add-ons. Anytime you're looking at a pre-owned bike, you're going to find that somebody has customized it in some way or another, like added a tag, fender eliminator kit, added some tank pads, added some LED lights, added things here and there. You need to look at those, inspect them closely, see how the work was done, see if it was done professionally or if it was done just kind of by putting stuff together. What you have to ask yourself, and really ask the guy that you're buying the bike from, is did he install that stuff himself or did he take it to his shop and have it installed professionally? Anytime you're looking at a pre-owned bike, you're going to want to lift the seat, you're going to want to look at wires, see was this one just put together with some electrical tape and spliced together with some wire nuts from like the electrical stuff you do at home. Of course, that's going to be a problem. What you want to be able to see is that the wiring is connected correctly, that it's waterproof, that those kind of things are going to be taken care of properly. And you know, a lot of times guys do it right, but a lot of times they don't. And if they don't, and you don't see that, then you're going to be looking at chasing the electrical gremlins to find out why your battery won't keep a charge or why there's other issues going on with it. It really sucks when you have to push it to the next gas station. I'm sure you'd rather not do that. So make sure you have that checked out definitely and ask those questions. So guys, in recap, what we want for every customer is that they purchase a bike that is safe and that is a good deal. The most important thing is that our customers roll out of here on a bike that they can trust and that they're happy with our dealership, of course. So every bike that we have that's pre-owned has gone through a 75-point safety inspection. Every single one of them has a fresh oil and filter change. And you can trust that it operates exactly as the manufacturer originally intended. That is our goal every single time. We have a guy that does all of our pre-owned inspections. His name's Kevin. He is a pain in the butt because he's so meticulous that he won't let anything pass if there's a question. And of course, you know, the owners of this store as well, they've been in business a long time, 45 years this year actually. And the idea that somebody might buy a bike of ours and get hurt while riding literally has kept myself and some of them up at night as well. It's our worst fear that that could ever happen to you. So we go above and beyond to make sure that all of our bikes are mostly safe. And in addition, I get questioned all the time, hey, where are your pre-owned bikes? Well, they're sitting right next to the new bikes, but you can't tell because they've all been cleaned and detailed. Most of them have brand new tires on them. We always try to go above and beyond. So while you may have found a great deal or a steal online, sometimes it's not, because you're never going to know how much money you're going to have to put into that bike to get it operating the way it's supposed to. You can trust that we've already done that. We've made it easy for you. So instead of worrying about turning wrenches on your bike, you can twist the throttle and ride. And that's what we're here for. So keep an eye on our website. We list all of our pre-owned bikes on there. If you find one you like, call down here. My name's Jimmy. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have, and we'll put you on the bike of your dreams and make sure it's a great deal. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.